Falcon fans? It's your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today we finally got to hear from our new defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen, and I can tell you I like what I heard from him. We'll get into that a little bit. Then I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some of the free agent offensive linemen that the Falcons could consider bringing in this offseason to bolster up our offensive line. So guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys like to hear what I talk about. And please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about these Atlanta Falcons. So like I said, we actually heard from our defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen. Kind of remind me of Arthur Smith. A little on the intense side. That's what you like to hear, especially from your defensive coordinator. Said the whole cliche things about being fast, physical, tough, things like that. I did like the fact that he said we're gonna attack at every position. I love that. Way loves that philosophy. I don't like the idea of sitting in zone a lot and letting the offense dictate the way you play. I think you need to be aggressive from a defensive standpoint. So I like the fact that he mentioned that he was going to be attacked. He also mentioned that it was going to be multiple. The whole question came about 4-3-3-4. He mentioned the question asked about some of our lighter guys on the end, like a Armor Ebiketie, if we bring back somebody like Renzo Carter. He said that the players are good. No matter, they're going to put those guys in the best positions for those guys to be successful. He was really talking about how he think Troy Anderson can actually fit some of the things that they really want him to do. He said he already taught Troy Anderson about 2 or 3 times. That's good for that young rookie to actually get in line with what the new defense coordinator want. He talked about Grady Jarrett, how he just loved the way he plays. I think we all can agree that that's a good starting point to start with about Grady. So, guys, going forward, the last thing that I want to say about Ryan Nielsen is basically he said, getting all the coaches, everybody putting their minds together. Guy like Jerry Gray, Ryan Nielsen, other coaches on the staff. When they rolled out, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcon defense. So, of course, you go back and look at some of the things that the New Orleans Saints did right. You can take some of the things that the Green Bay Packers been doing from a coverage standpoint. And then taking some of the other stuff from the guys. Who else are going to bring in? We have not heard his full coaching staff or the other guys that he's going to include to this staff. But when these guys actually go out there, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcon defense. The main thing for me that he really wanted to talk about was the fact that stopping the run with a light box. It means you're going to play a lot of coverage and you can actually stop the run with your front four, and your 2 linebackers. That's where you start to make dividends, right? You don't have to create pressure. You don't have to bring that safety down in the box to be able to stop the run. You want to get into 3rd and longs where you can actually dictate to the offense. Everybody knows 3rd and 7 and more, it's harder to convert those 3rd down possessions. And that's what we want to try to start to create in the Atlanta Falcons. So what we heard today from Ryan Nielsen is a good start. Got a lot of work to do. This offseason still is going to be the most important offseason for this regime to date. And these guys got to continue to build the way they have done in the first 2 seasons. So that's what I think about Ryan Nielsen. Definitely like to hear what you guys think. If you have not heard his press conference, go back and look. It's on AtlantaFalcon.com. And let me know your thoughts about what your feelings about Ryan Nielsen. All right, guys. So let's get into our offensive line. I felt like the offensive line probably coming into the offseason in 2022. This was one of our biggest question marks for our offensive line, how these guys was going to play. They was ranked in the bottom half of the league last year from an offensive standpoint, especially pass blocking. Run blocking was not as bad, but from a pass blocking standpoint, it was really where they need to build their strides. This year, they actually played a whole lot better. Their running game really flourished this year. If you look at it, was top 5 in rushing. You can't make things like that up. So that chemistry from this offensive line, it should be there intact. We still had issues at left guard. We had so many different guys playing that position. And, we got a couple of free agents. Guy like Caleb McGarry. So we want to go out and look at some offensive linemen and potentially guys that they can bring in to this offense and help continue to build on what we built last year. We love what they did, but you don't want to take a step back. So we got to keep moving forward. So these are the 5 guys that I picked out, guards and a couple of tackles that we're going to look at today and talk about that could potentially bring in for the Atlanta Falcons. And there's no particular order. Just going to call these guys out. And you guys let me know what you think about these 3 guards and these 2 tackles that we're talking about. So the first guy we're going to talk about, and we always got to start in-house first, is Caleb McGarry. Caleb McGarry definitely really improved this year from his first 4 seasons, right? So, of course, the Atlanta Falcons decided not to pick up his 5th-year option. That's the reason he's an unrestricted free agent. Right now, I talked about this when I did the free agents they should bring back. Caleb McGarry is one of those guys. At $17.7 million, his value, he's 27-year-old. He was actually ranked 2nd behind only Trent Williams in run blocking. And then if you look at his pass protection this year, it was a whole lot better than it was in the previous 3 years. So you have to like what Caleb McGarry did. His value is 17.7. That chemistry is there. That run offense was definitely really good this year. So if you want to keep the chemistry and keep a guy like Caleb McGarry beside Chris Lindstrom, you might have to go ahead and bite that bullet and bring Caleb McGarry back. I would not be upset with this move. It's just something they have to do. Maybe they can get him on a team-friendly deal when he don't ask for that market value. Could get it for a little bit less. But either way, I think at 17.7, you lock him up for a couple of years, about 3 or 4 years. I think it's a good idea to go ahead and pull the trigger on Caleb McGarry. So you guys let me know what you think about him. The next tackle, if we can't get a guy like Caleb McGarry, if they do not want to go with that price tag, they think it's too much, we'll go over to the San Francisco 49ers and get a guy like Mike McGlinchey. His price tag is only at 10.7, the value right now. Only 28-year-old. He only allowed 6 sacks this year. He was top 10 in run blocking. So once again, we talking about their run offense, trying to keep that to where it was this year. Those are some of the things you got to look at. So a guy like Mike McGlinchey in 2021, he was out because of bicep, came back and actually still productive. Like I said, bringing him in, he would be a substitute if we decide not to bring back Caleb McGarry. I would go ahead and bring Caleb McGarry back to that right tackle spot because of the chemistry that he has and the way this offensive line looked this year. You don't want to have too many new faces on that line. So bringing a guy in like Mike McGlinchey would only be because they decided not to bring back Caleb McGarry. And Caleb McGarry decided to go somewhere else. So that would be the reason why bringing a guy like Mike McGlinchey in. All right, next guys we're going to talk about, last 3 guys we're going to talk about is offensive guards, particularly for that left guard position that's coming in. We got to solidify that place. Yes, we have Matt Hennessy still there, things like that. However, if you want to try to solidify this position, you can go out and look at some other guards. The first guard to talk about is Isaac Samola from the Philadelphia Eagles. Probably one of the best offensive lines in football this year. And if the Philadelphia Eagles is not able to bring him back, his price tag right now is $12.1 million. Only allowed 0 sacks this year and only had 1 hit in 8 games. So the last 8 games, he only gave up 1 hit on the quarterback, 0 sacks. You have to like a guy like that, a guy that's really, really probably under the radar if you're looking at Lane Johnson and a guy like Kelsey. Those guys probably get the most notoriety on their offense, but the whole offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles was pretty good this year. And Isaac Samola, a guard, put him in, somebody that's stable, that was in a good offense last year, one of the best run offenses in the league. If you go look at their rushing rushing attack. I think a guy like Isaac definitely could help the Atlanta Falcons solidify that left guard position if they want to go ahead and fill that need in free agency. They might go back in the draft. Like I said, potential. We don't forget we still got Jalen Mayfield on the team. We still got Matt Hennessy, but what do we think about those guys? Are they just complete backup offensive linemen, or do we feel like we can bring those guys in to be actually starters? Either way, a guy like this, bringing him in at 12.1, which really solidify that offensive line across the board. We can create that chemistry. Caleb McGarry, Chris Lindstrom, Drew Dahlman, which a lot of people probably want to place, but I think Arthur Smith really likes what Drew Dahlman been doing. He's definitely going to give him opportunity. Remember, last year was Drew Dahlman's first year at center, so starting the whole year. So you have to let them see what his jump from that year, from his first year start to the next year, and see how he progressed in that. But bringing a guy like Isaac would be really good for us from the Philadelphia Eagles. The next guy on the list would be Dalton Reiser from the Denver Broncos. 27-year-old, only allowed 3 sacks, only had 1 penalty. Now, going back and look at that offense, yes, it was not really that good this year from an offensive standpoint. But Dalton Reiser is coming in at $9.5 million. If you go back to the season before, the way they ran the ball, I think he's a good guy to bring in at left guard. You want the stability at that position, a guy who's a little bit more of a guy that you can bring in. And this is a guy that I really like to add to this offensive line. Kind of remind me of a guy we brought in from the Tennessee Titans the year we went to the Super Bowl, right? I can't think of his name right now. You guys know what I'm talking about. We brought him in right before the season started from the Tennessee Titans. We made a trade. But a guy like that, and that's the last time we actually had a good left guard that was consistent and was able to last the entire season. So if we can find somebody to put in that spot that's going to be there to build that chemistry with Drew Dahlman and our left tackle, Jake Matthews, that would really be awesome. So a guy like Dalton Reiser would really be good. Last but not least, a guy who's probably really under the radar is Ben Powers out of the Baltimore Ravens. This would be really a probably a cheap deal for us. His first contract, he signed a 4-year deal for about $3.2 million. So he was making less than $1 million a year, but it's probably time for him to get a raise. He's coming up. He's an unrestricted free agent. If you go look at that Baltimore Ravens run attack, it's nothing else you need to say. They had one of the best running attacks for years in Baltimore. And a guy like Ben Powers coming up on his contract year would definitely be somebody that the Falcons could definitely look at. It would be a underrated signing, bringing the guy in. You might not have to pay him that much to get him a long-term deal, about $3 to $4 million to prove himself, because this would be his first big contract that he'll get after coming in for his rookie season. He had 1 penalty and 0 sacks this season. So another guy bring in, like I said, an underrated guy that we can bring in from the Baltimore Ravens and bring in and put in that left guard position. So this is where the Falcons can go out in free agents and fill some of their needs that they want, right? Make these big splashes. Maybe not at guard and at tackle. If you go out and get a guy like Caleb McGarry, you might not want to go out and also bring an offensive guard in as well. So you might decide to pivot that to the draft, which is understandable because you got so many other needs that you need to sign, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So if they bring Caleb McGarry in at that price tag at $17.7 million, you might just go ahead and bring in a guy, keep a guy like Elijah Wilkinson or a Matt Hennessy or even a Jalen Mayfield to see what those guys can do, and then go in the draft and bring another guard in those some of the things to consider. Yes, I did not have any centers on here. We could look at some of the centers that's out there. One in particular is Kelsey. It's coming out. If he does not retire this year, I'm pretty sure that he's going back to Philadelphia. I just can't see him leaving and being one of the guys that the Falcons would bring in. But if the Falcons do get a center, if anything, they might look at that in the draft. It's a couple good centers we're going to be talking about when you start talking about draftees that the Falcons could definitely target and bringing in the center offensive lineman. So these are my guys that I'm looking for an offense, the Atlanta Falcons to look at for an offensive line. I don't imagine those guys, going balls to the wall trying to get so many offensive linemen because, like I said, the way the offensive line played this year, you had to be, satisfied to a point where even who they plugged in at the left guard position actually did pretty well. They hold their own, so it's not a really need to go out and spend a whole lot of money on the left guard position, but they need to make sure that they bring Kevin McGarry back to keep that chemistry with him and Chris Lindstrom intact. So, guys, let me know what you think about our offensive line free agents. What would you do? Would you bring in a guard and a tackle? Would you decide to let Caleb McGarry go and go after a guy like Mike McGlinchey? Would you go to the Ravens and get a under the radar guy like Ben Powers, or would you go get a guy from the best offensive lineman this year in Philadelphia and get a guys like Isaac Samola? So those are some of the things that we definitely need to look at from the Atlanta Falcons. This is going to be an exciting off season for us because we do not know what the Falcons are planning to do. Right? We just sit back and wait. So many years the Falcons had to sit back, and get that second wave of free agents because of the money they had. This year, they do not have to do that. They still need to be smart. They don't need to go out and create and spend all their money like in the first day of free agency. They still need to be strategic and get the guys that they need to bring in to fit the system, right? Because like I said, the Falcons are not just one guy away, so you don't want to spend all your money on one guy. But it is a track record. You go out and look at the way the Jacksonville Jaguars did last offseason. They went out and made big splash free agency moves. A guy like Kirk, a guy like Foye Ololokun. Those guys come in and look, they was in the playoffs this year. Yes, it didn't pan out the way they wanted it to, but they played the Kansas City Chiefs just as good as any team could have in the playoffs. So you got to like what they was able to do, being the team they were, and then bringing in those splash free agents and getting those guys in the playoffs. That's the kind of transactions that we're looking for Atlanta Falcons to do this year. That's the kind of the jump that we want to see, right? So if we can see that kind of transaction signings to leap us into getting into the postseason this year would be great for us. Right? That's all I got, guys. Let me know what you think about these offensive linemen. Also, let you know what you think about what Ryan Nielsen had to say for his first press conference. And this is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.